All right, welcome back for game number 3. This is the third best of 3 in the day for the Western Regionals. My name is Joshua Fekes Quest. I'm joined now with Bill Jump Carter. How's it going? Thanks for joining me, man.
It's going great. What's up? Gotta try to follow in the footsteps of the great Sea Moose, but hopefully we can get some things done. I'm ready to rock and roll. We got Poly SLO versus UCLA. We might have a barn burner on our hands today.
Yeah, this is the two really huge teams in the West, and of course all these teams in the West are pretty big. But UCLA, they're a powerhouse. SLO have always been a mainstay in CSL, so they're not a stranger to collegiate gaming. They know what they have to do to win this. We're into pick and ban phases. Fizz LeBlanc banned out by Poly SLO. Vladimir banned out by UCLA, along with the Tom Kinch. I'm gonna bench the Kinch. I'm kind of sad about that one.
They're just blowing through things right now. We are on patch 5.22, so we're kicking with the live things right now. Very heavy mid focus, both for Happy Birthday as well as Light Sludge. We've talked a little bit before, in Light Sludge, one of the most dynamic players on the UCLA roster. Definitely one that we need to make sure to look out for. They're going to take the Lulu and the Talon away. 5 of 6 champions. Well, technically, if you wanted to pull a faker and go AP Tom Kench mid lane, that could technically be 6 mid champions banned away. But this leaves a lot of different options on the table right here for both teams.
Yeah, a lot of supports. You have your picks of the junglers, who are very strong, as well as the top laners. So yeah, like you said, first pick is going to be pretty important here. Lulu is up as well. We've been seeing a lot of Lulu in the last few games. Hasn't been a huge factor though, but in the right hands can really be a difference maker in these team fights. Been seeing, actually saw some pretty heavy mid laners with Vel'Koz and Annie in the last best of 3 by Panda in a box. We'll see if anyone matches something like that this series. Poly SLO, Martel taking his time with the first pick here, and the Soraka, a support that it actually warrants a ban these days.
I agree. I think that the Soraka or the changes that they did all across the board, especially with the grievous wounds and all of the things that make Soraka great, that's definitely something that you have to look out for. But that leaves open the Mundo in the top lane. We've seen the strength and the scaling that Mundo can create. Not only does the new Resolve tree just make tankier champions tankier, but the recent changes that they did with his Masochism, his E, is just very strong indeed. They're also looking like they're going to lock in the Morgana as well. So while you have a much safer lane with the Soraka, you're going to have a little bit of an easier time right here excuse me, with the Morgana pick. Going to have a little bit of a playmaker. There's a lot of options that Poly SLO can pull out of this, though. The junglers are still open, so it looks like they're going to be actually blocking that in right now, securing that jungler for Pismo. And the 80 carries, that's something that we obviously continuously have to talk about with the 5.22 changes. The chaos that has been created, the age of marksman, as they like to call it, leaves a lot of options open for a lot of different champions. But with that being said, Jinx has been slowly but surely ever rising to the top, and it's going to get locked in.
Yeah, and apparently I'm having some audio issues. Let me know if that continues. I turned my audio up a little bit. Let me know what's up with that. But Bill, Jump, you can hear me, yeah?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
All right, if that's okay.
Ears are ringing with the sound of dreams that we love to hear.
Those are called angels' voices, by the way, and I encompass many of those angels' voices. Pismo SLO is going to be locking in the Gragas, and pretty standard jungler, although Elise was up. Surprising to take that one. Feels a little bit more comfortable on the Gragas pick. And yeah, over on the side of UCLA, a little bit of that power in the top lane, and this is going to be interesting because now they have a Malphite and a Morgana. Both can kind of flex picks. Of course, Malphite kind of go jungle as well, and mid lane if you want to be cheeky about it.
So, believe it or not, there actually has been a huge rise in the Mundo jungle because he still has decent ganks. If you have a champion or a lane that has solid follow-up CC, or even starting CC, such as the Morgana binding, or even something like the Malphite slow, this creates a lot of opportunities for Mundo to get in there, throw his cleavers, pop his E off an auto-attack reset, and continuously crank off a lot of damage. This is something that we're seeing a rise very well because with a lot of the changes that have happened, you're actually seeing a much higher amount of carry top laners. Yes, you still have your Malphites and your Mundos and things in that regard, but you're seeing a much bigger rise in carry top laners. And look at that, just as we say that, we're going to have Heaven's Riot locking in the Rumble as well as the Brand. We've seen Brand all over the place right now.
Yeah, and it's not going to be a support brand, I'm assuming. It's got to be a mid lane brand because you have a Soraka already. I'm very excited to see Brand. Brand is one of my most played champions. I do enjoy Brand, and yeah, he's been extremely powerful in this new patch. Why do you think that is, Jump?
It's primarily due to the changes in the masteries with the new Deathfire Torch procking on all of your abilities. It actually continuously procs on your passive as well. So every time you auto attack, every time you do some kind of ability damage, then you're able to continuously get the damage off of that Deathfire Torch. And it just is able to crank out a lot more damage. Yes, the AP items have been increased, but due to the mastery changes, due to the fact that he can just constantly blow off a ton of damage, is something definitely to work in. But he's very immobile, and he's down and out against someone like an Ahri, which is what Skill Shots Fired locks in at the end. I love this pickup. I love this decision to just create a little bit extra mobility. If you look at the composition that UCLA is running right now, they've got a lot of roamers, they've got a lot of playmaking ability, but it's going to revolve a lot around the communication that they have coming into this match.
Yeah, I really like the Ahri pickup into the brand, and not to mention, yeah, that does pick up get pick potential on the side of UCLA, which they have unstoppable force, but outside of that, they didn't have that mass amount of burst that I like to see sometimes, and now they do, and they match it against the brand, who does have a lot of burst in his own right. There's a lot of magic damage coming out from Poly SLO. Between Martel, Pismo SLO, and Happy Birthday, there is so much AoE magic damage that I really like. UCLA, I feel like they're picking very well into this with the tanky lineup, and of course you have Daphne on Morgana with the Black Shield as well to absorb some of that magic damage.
There's a lot of options that they can employ. What I look to see the most is how Poly SLO decides to make these team fights happen. Because if you look at the way their team fights are, they actually, believe it or not, have a lot of protection for Heaven's Riot. Not only do you have the Soraka who's going to be doing just Soraka things, but you've got a lot of zoning, not only with the AoE forcing the dispersion of champions with Half Birthdays ult, but you also have the exploding cast from Pismo, as well as the equalizer from Martel. So there's a lot of different options that they can have to really sit back, zone out the different members, and isolate them accordingly to help out Heaven's Riot. But outside of that cast coming out of Pismo, there's no other way that they have to disengage. So once Breast in the West decides to get going, or Skill Shots Fired hits a good charm, then the rest of UCLA is going to follow, and that might actually spell disaster for Poly SLO if they're not careful.
Yeah, these team fights are definitely going to be interesting. It's going to be up to Hoplite to keep spamming those heals after heal after heal, which is what a Soraka does best to keep their team, his team alive, I should say. But we're going to find out how that goes in about 2 minutes. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Brain Gear, NSF certified daily brain supplement with a formula that supports the brain at a cellular level. No sugar, only 5 calories, a 2-ounce shot. Go check it out. Give your brain a little bit of a boost at drinkbraingear.com. And also Alpha Draft, win real money playing fantasy esports. $5 million in payouts will happen this year alone, so don't miss out on the action. And of course, I want to give a shout out, one last shout out I should say, to Twitch.tv, with the largest online streaming company in the world. Thank you for supporting us. My name is Joshua Fekaz Quest here with Bill Jump Carter. We'll be back in the game in about 1:30. Stick around. we are in the Rift for the first of this best of 3 between Cal Poly SLO and UCLA. Once again, my name is Joshua Quest here with Bill Jump Carter. How's this game going to go to you, man?
I think it's going to rely a lot on the early objective control and how they're going to decide to move these around the map. Like I said, the zoning potential and the absolute just raw damage that Cal Poly SLO is able to crank out is astonishing, but the team fight advantage most certainly goes over to the side of UCLA. Light Sledge, we didn't really get to talk too much about him, but we mentioned earlier how versatile and how dynamic of a player he is. Once he decides to get things rolling and he gets ahead, that's when his team starts to firing on all cylinders, pushing through with prowess, power, and disaster for the other team. So I want to see how this early game with the lane phase is going to go. Yes, Hoplite is playing a Soraka. You're going to have sustain, but Daphne and Light Sledge are on two very solid lane phase playmaking champions in the Lucian and the Morgana. So that's what I want to look out for. How are they going to play to things, and how are they going to turn their lane advantage into a victory?
Yeah, and you're talking about the early game, and the early game now in this patch, more and more important as we've seen in these games. You can get the advantage in the first 5 minutes and mostly snowball your way into a victory at 20 to 25 minutes. We've seen it quite a few times today already. So this early game is more and more pivotal than it was before. And yeah, now also interesting, Daphne did take Ignite, so it's going to help shut down the Soraka heals a little bit on Soraka herself if you missed the star call if you decided to go in on that one.
And believe it or not, Light Sledge actually on Lucian is able to be very successful against Soraka. The best way, should I say, to actually beat a Soraka in lane is to successfully poke her down and dodge out her abilities. Well, Light Sledge is going to be able to do that if he wants to aggressively use his dash to be able to go around and do that. That's great, but he can also use his Q. He simply goes through a minion, fires off the piercing light, gets successful poke, and acts accordingly that way. So that's definitely something that we have to think about as we go on. Now, we're starting to see our first difference actually right off the bat. If we look at 5.22, there's a lot of different changes that teams are starting with and how they're actually going about the early game in the jungle, and we've seen a change in the jungle already. We've got Stunt going for the Hunter's Machete, and we've got Hunter's Talisman being picked up by Gragas. So they're wanting to change their things up a little bit. Yes, it's more productive for Gragas to have that mana regen, but if you look already, he's burned both of his pots. So he's going to have to be forced to go back a little early, and so that mana regen not providing as much as what you would expect. However, it looks like he's just going to be roaming around doing simple Gragas things.
Yeah, gotta get those Rift Scuttler to help out with the patient play in the jungle, which is very important in the early game. Prevent ganks and the stunt on Dr. Mundo. I was actually kind of surprised to see that one. Considering I feel like Malphite may be better off in the jungle than a Mundo. What are your thoughts on that one? Because the ganks at level 6 are about the same as before level 6 with Mundo.
I think the main goal of putting a Mundo in this jungle is to allow your tank junglers to kind of get, or your carry top laners to be able to get something done. If we kind of look back in the meta and things that have happened in the past, when you have more of the carry top laners in that instance, then you're used to having kind of a supporting tankier jungle. But the great thing as well is this jungle, he can stick in the jungle, stay in the jungle, and actually scale up a little bit faster. When you have a situation like this where you don't have a strong ganking jungler, yes, Mundo has his strength. If, say, Daphne hits a binding or skill shots fired, is able to hit a charm of some sort, and he can follow up. But what this does is this allows him to go in the jungle, get off some ganks, and get things done. But look, here we go. He's already having some fun. Smack and fist foe. That's my Mr. Krabs. Run away.
Yeah, I guess he can 1v1 a Gragas pretty easily. You can just lane cleaver after cleaver. And you have the auto attack empowerment from the E. Does quite a bit of damage. Pismo has to get out of there, so territory over to Stunt. Other than that, not too much to know so far as this early game aggression. It's been very calm, surprisingly.
What I want to look for, and this is something that we actually haven't seen much of the development for, not only in the collegiate scene, but also in the challenger and competitive scene as well, is Rift Herald. What are teams going to do with it? How are teams going to utilize its effectiveness? And what are you actually going to do with that? When you see the Rift Herald, when it actually came about, it was like, all right, there's a lot of options we can do. Not only do we get the movement speed buff, but we get the super minions, the Baron empowered minions as we call them, to actually push down a lane and really turn this laning phase into like a much more of a catalyst and bring out the mid game. So what are these teams going to do? How are they going to utilize it and really get out of the lane phase? If we look at the games that we've already had today, they're very fast-paced teams got into something. So it's what kind of advantage they're going to pull. Talking about advantages, here we go. Stun.
Skill shots fired. He may go down before they're able to capitalize on this one. First blood does go over to Happy Birthday. He is going to go down though, but the gold goes over to Cal Poly SLO's mid lane.
They're going to take that. There really wasn't too much that Stun could do at that point in time. Skill shots fired was waiting, but at that point in time, it was just way too late. The damage from Brand is just way too much. And look at this, what we were talking about. You've got this possibility now with all your lanes for Stun to just farm up and do just Mundo things to scale himself up. He's up almost 7 farm. He's been able to pick up a kill, and so this much faster scaling on the Mundo, getting him to these items that he needs, getting him to those spikes, are exactly what UCLA is looking for when they decided to do this play.
Yeah, now Mundo is level 6, so he will have a little bit more sustain when he goes to gank. If he wants to gank, really commit to that gank, he'll have sadism. Charge himself back up. Happy Birthday coming back with a Phoenix Codex and another Doran's ring, actually matching his skill shots fired. So the only advantage that Happy Birthday actually has in the mid lane is that peak ward. Give him a little bit of extra vision. So despite having first blood, they're still even in power right now.
They are, but this comes a point where skill shots fired has the advantage because outside of his ultimate, Happy Birthday is all skill shot based. So he's going to have to land those skill shots. But with the Spirit Rush available on skill shots fired, that's definitely something that they can try to do and employ. Flipping down to the bot lane now, get a little bit of a change of scenery. We have very even lanes right now. We were expecting a little bit more aggression possibly from Light Sludge and Daphne, but it looks like they're just going to play safe and try to get their power spikes. Lucian, especially with the new Essence Reaver, is able to crank off a whole lot of early damage and just apply things accordingly. So all in all, we've had a little bit of fun in the bot or in the mid lane, but outside of that, it's been very standard lanes, much slower than we're used to seeing on 5.22.
Yeah, so far, even compared to today, normally has some sort of explosion somewhere on the map, but yeah, both teams playing very passive, just respecting one another, saying, hey, I'll just farm for my items and let's play cool, guys, no problem. There's a little bit of aggression in the mid lane, but that's about it, and it hasn't even equated to anything yet. Both of them are 47 CS and the same item, so even that aggression didn't really get anywhere. Actually, if anything, Stunt may have been able to get the better half of that trade in the mid lane. He now has a Bambi Cinder. That Cinder Hulk can be a big tank for his team.
He's got to be able to help up. He's got to be able to get those tank stats out and just really push himself accordingly. Because believe it or not, while we talk so much about the team fighting prowess that UCLA is able to hash out, Cal Poly SLO has a very strong mid game. Once you get an item on Martel and Happy Birthday, that's when they can start going off and actually crank off a lot of damage. Considering that Martel is going for the Haunting guys into the Leandry's Torment build, that's going to be able to do a whole lot of damage onto Stunt as well as Breast in the West. So this is something that they need to look out for. They're doing this very well. Wow, that little poke coming out of Light Sludge. That is the Thunderlord's decree that he actually has right now. You're not able to see that, but that third spell or auto attack just cranks off so much damage. One of the most underrated Keystone Masteries I actually see in 5.22.
But you do have Hoplite right next to you, and we saw that big chunk just get healed right back up. That's the big advantage of having Soraka. It's going to be pivotal for this Cal Poly SLO team, especially if everybody's able to get caught by a Dark Binder. Hoplite, this big game of supports, I feel like, going to be whenever they start dancing around the dragon in the jungle. Hoplite on the Soraka. We've seen Soraka already only once today, and it was a pretty big factor.
As one of my best friends infamously put it, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. My name is Soraka, and this is your free hall pass to just be as aggressive as you want because I'm going to press a button and heal you up completely. Yeah, that's exactly the way that it works. And this does a great counteract from Daphne because, like you said, she's got the ability to lock her down and really struggle, make her struggle in that regard. But unless they can actually get this advantage, there's going to come a point where Hoplite is going to be too tanky, is going to have too much sustain that they're not going to be able to do it. They have a slight advantage. They've got about a 2-wave advantage right now, but you've got a beautiful freeze coming from Heaven's Right. If you see Pismo Slow is actually lurking himself around, there's no vision. He is past level 6, so there's an option they can do. One good hit right here from Heaven's Right, and that could be it all.
Shots fired just warded, but now the aggression from Light Sludge and Daphne shoves them up a little bit. There is Pismo Slow coming in. But
oh, the teleport!
On the top lane, both teleports coming in actually. Martel on the backside, Rest in the west, and in toward his tower. Pismo Slow picks up Light Sludge. Super Death Rocket used as well. Heaven's Right able to get out of Rest in the west, I guess, space. He is going to go down. Double kill for Happy Birthday, who roamed down himself, and Skill Shots Fired stayed in the mid lane.
He did a great job at pushing himself out, and the second that he saw the entire team was going to come and hang out in the bot lane, he started roaming down. Much slower reaction on Skill Shots Fired. Very proactive teleport by both Martel as well as Rest in the West. A little bit of a mishap on the equalizer, but it doesn't matter. The rest of the team is able to come in, fill up, get 3 kills as well as the Dragon, but still, that's only a 400 gold lead. So all of this damage, all of this greatness, 2 extra kills in the pocket of Happy Birthday, but still, UCLA holds on. They're not out of this fight yet.
No, they're gonna grip onto what they can. You know, like you said, it's not too far out yet. And Happy Birthday picked up a Morello Namicon early on, so that's actually going to help out against an Ahri. He does have his life steal. Well, actually, Spellbound, I guess we should say. For passive. Nice pickup. Helps sustain the mana problems that brands typically have. Advances the Pillar of Flame. And now we're back to square one for both teams, just kind of fanning out, trying to decide what to do. It's only 300, well, 200 down towards UCLA, so definitely not out of this game. The first Dragon is not going to be a huge factor for them this early on.
No, but these early kills definitely play in the favor. We've mentioned before about how strong this mid game is on the members of Cal Poly SLO, and that's kind of what they're playing towards right now. Happy Birthday, while he has 3 kills, is playing extremely confidently. We look at a lot of different discrepancies at what brands decide to build and how they decide to go about their maxing of skills, but oh, actually, might have to pause. Heaven's Right.
Heaven's Right, and the calling, he's going to go down. Light Sludge, very nicely played off of the Dark Binding from Daphne. Now in the mid lane, Happy Birthday, can he make something happen here? He's going to get a cleaver to the back. He's a zombie, but he still dies. Cleaver landed right in his head. Very nicely played by UCLA.
That's 2 deaths right there, and just what we talked about, they're not out of the fight yet. A beautiful outplay by Skill Shots Fired to pick up that kill onto Happy Birthday, and an entire 100% hit rate on the culling from Light Sludge. Not only is he going to be able to get that kill, but he's going to take that tower, and that's going to be a much better equalizer right there from UCLA to get things evened up, evened out, and they're actually going to come away with about a 1k gold lead.
Yeah, and that's going to be huge for them. They just got that, yeah, got the turret, the Dragon isn't up yet, but now they have to try to rotate around. It seems like a lot of times we get these turrets down early. We see the roam coming around from the team that took it down, and then they take down more turrets, and that's how you kind of snowball this early game. So far, from what we've seen in this patch, we'll see what Light Sludge and Daphne decide to do. Have his Essence Reaver built already, so and his Berserker Greaves, so he has quite a bit of damage behind him already at 14 minutes.
He is. He's also up about 30 CS right now, and that's a huge advantage because, like you said, the Essence Reaver as well as the Berserker Greaves are finished. Now they can try to do something, but you also have other completions. You've got the beautiful double magic penetration completed on Martel, so his damage of his equalizers is going to be really good. But here we go. This is what we talked about in 5.22. It's rotate, apply advantages, push objectives, and get your advantage as much as possible. So what have they done? Both members from the bot lane have roamed to the top. Yes, that's left Heaven's Right in the bot by himself, but this is going to be a huge push. You've got decent amount of wave clear from Happy Birthday, but if they can't hold themselves on, this might be another advantage for UCLA, and it might be a tide turner on how this game is going to progress.
They are pushing in the wave with only Happy Birthday to try to clear it. It's kind of tricky for a brand to clear waves, but they actually might just go in onto the Rip Herald. Give themselves an advantage in pushing these waves.
This is a really smart decision. We talked a lot about how our team's going to combat this. How are they going to utilize the Rift Herald to their advantage? So what do? They actually give it over to Light Sledge. You give it to your AD carry. You have him in the lane. Not only is he pushing the minions, but he's also pushing the wave with his own Baron and powered minions. So this is going to give them that hoop. Yes, they've only got about half a wave, but the next wave is coming down, passing the inhibitor turret as we speak. So that's going to be a push in the mid lane. They've sent Breast in the West down low. Might be a sticky situation for Heaven's Riot.
Heaven's Riot, he's getting chunked. Here comes a teleport, though. Unstoppable force used. Stunt is there as well. Martel with the decent equalizer to block off Stunt.
Oh.
Martel does pick up Breast in the West before Heaven's Riot goes down. So very, very well played by Poly SLO. Now they're going to push onto this mid lane turret.
That wish did so much to help things out. Not only did it give him a base heal, but this is just the strength that we see from Soraka. All of that healing allowed Heaven's Riot to came up. Martel came down in support of his AD carry, finished the kill off, and this little advantage that we saw on the side of UCLA, not USA. We're both in the USA. We're all in the USA. But that little slight advantage that you saw them try to employ didn't end up working out. And again, we talk so much about how fast games can be and how many advantages teams decide to push, but both of these teams are just putting it to the wire right now. 16 minutes in the game, only one tower has been taken.
Yeah, this is not as, I guess, fast-paced of an early game as the games earlier. And I kind of expected that, considering UCLA and Poly SLO, both pretty high-caliber teams over on the West Coast. And, not surprised to see them, I want to say go into a stalemate, as it's still UCLA's a little bit of advantage, but not surprised to see them not snowballing as much as they could against a lesser of a team. But the mid lane turret did go down in favor of UCLA. That's 2 turrets, 1 right now, actually to 0, that's a 1 dragon instead of Poly, so 2 turrets, they're opening up the map themselves.
They are indeed. They're secure that turret. You've got the dragon that's live as well, and there's 0 ward coverage for both teams around that area. Now, while this might be the case at the moment, teams are going to fix it. They're going to rotate themselves around, but the advantage is still going to go on the side of UCLA. You have a teleport from Breast in the West. When the big engagement happened down low with Heaven's Riot, it forced a teleport out of Martel. So yes, the AD carry was able to pick up was not die. Breast in the West went down. That gave the teleport advantage to UCLA. So you're going to see Martel saying, oh crap, I don't have a teleport. I need to come down now. So he's starting to roam down. The teleport is available from Breast in the West, but it doesn't look like it's going to matter. They're just going to take it away, but Pismo slow.
Pismo slow, he was not able to get it. A little bit too early. Stunt doesn't get that dragon, so mission accomplished. UCLA. Martel, he's got a pink word. Not much game in that realm.
I got a pink word, guys. I got some gold. That helps, right?
Still good.
That's going to be a little bit of a good push, though, still. He's still going to stay with his team. Come to the mid lane. The teleport is being forced from Breast in the West. There's no way to carry, though.
Unstoppable force is up, but very nice flame chomper is going to halt that aggression onto Stun and Breast in the West. So, no unstoppable force coming out this time, but it is still up, and I think Poly SLO may want to respect that one. They're backing off. They're going to take their jungle camps and keep away from being pushed and just avoid an all-out team fight. I think they're sure that UCLA can win.
That was a blessing in disguise for UCLA, actually, because while they have an advantage in the team fights, their AD carry was not there. They need Light Sledge for this. He has the power spike. He has the damage over Heaven's Riot, so that's something that they have to focus on. If the ultimate would have come out from Breast in the West, then that might have been a little bit too early, a little bit too late. Light Sledge might not have been there, and that might have been a disaster. So a blessing in disguise for them. Both teams, again, are going to reset themselves and just try to apply a little bit more wave management with the minions and try to get something up. The culling is going to be forced out from Light Sledge, and both teams respecting the prowess of the other, not wanting to overstep their bounds too far. This is going to be a game that relies on one mistake. The capitalization of one misstep from either team is going to spell victory or defeat for the other, depending on what happens and how it goes. That's what I want to look out for. How are they going to respond to this? How are they going to come out of this? The missteps are something you can't have in League of Legends, and especially not in 5.22.
especially in terms of how snowbally these games can be. One misstep clearly to be a disaster for you. The rest in the West, pushing top lane. There's 3-man piled down in the bot lane for Cal Poly SLO, but they're actually going to back off, so this is a bad move by them. That's perfectly caught though, and he's dead. Skill shots fired, picking up that kill, and that is going to be a top lane turret completely mispositioned by Cal Poly.
We talked about the missteps. There was wards all over the map for UCLA. They knew exactly where Cal Poly SLO was not. So it was a great decision to say, you know what, we don't see any of them. They're not in either parts of their jungle. They're probably going to come up for a crazy game. So that's exactly what they do. They're going to come up. They're going to try to snipe. I don't know what they're sniping. It's Poly SLO just... the fat man said, haha, I'm just gonna chill, gonna hang out. But Stunt still wants to go in.
Yeah, Stunt's not a fat man, but he is a big man, and he's going to throw a cleaver at him. Big man. Advantage of it, but nice reply by Cal Poly finally. They're taking that inner bot lane turret. Well, that's answered back by skill shots fired, so inner turret for inner turret. Still going over to the advantage of UCLA. They still have the big map presence in this lane. That's the map. They go engage. Calling. Huge calling. Big unstoppable force coming out. Hoplite falls. Light Sludge picking up that kill. And Stunt picking up the backline of the Heaven's Right. Martel, he's getting out of there. He has some equalizers.
That is a 3-0-0 Mundo right now. We were questioning how well this pick was going to work out, but he's actually done it to great heights. Not only was he able to get a very fast Cinderhulk as well as the Mercury Treads, he now has a Spirit Visage. So the triple AP composition that we talked about in the favor of Cal Poly SLO is actually working into their demise, as this Mundo just runs around throwing cleavers, does not care, and is able to face tank a whole lot of damage. He's got about 1,400 in his pocket, so he can go back, buy some more tank items, and as a result of his tankiness, you're actually seeing a hybridization, more of a offensive tank build coming out of Breast in the West. He rushed a very quick Abyssal Scepter, which was smart due to the triple AP, but now he has gotten an Iceborne Gauntlet. So while that has defensive capabilities, it's going to be playing in his offensive advantage, as a very interesting team composition coming out of UCLA, but it's most definitely working out in their favor at this time.
Yeah, so far so good, and that just shows that even a weird team comp, if you can play it properly, it can work. That's exactly what's happening right now. You said Abyssal Scepter. There's actually an Abyssal Scepter in the mid lane by skill shots fired as well, but that is actually pretty decent on his part, because it's not always going to be a team fight when Ari is around.
No, not even. That's kind of one of the greatest things about Ari these days, is because of all the changes in the mid lane, of all the changes in the item cost, there's always going to be a consistency for Ari. She doesn't have any truly difficult matchups. She can itemize herself accordingly. If you look, most Aris these days have actually been going for the Morella Nomicon, but she has understood, all right, we've got a triple AP, so I'm going to go for the Chalice. I'm going to have a little bit of extra magic resist. I'm going to go for the Abyssal. I don't need to be this super monster glass cannon. I'm going to have a little bit more survivability, get in, get my damage off, get out, and have the rest of my team follow up and help themselves out. You're starting to see a little bit of clear now by Cal Poly SLO. They want to try to establish a little bit of control around Baron. This isn't probably the best place to take it, but at least clearing it out is going to make things a little bit easier. Meanwhile, you've got Breast in the West pounding away at that bot turret. Teleport is available. If there's a fight, he can join very quickly.
And he's just actually taking that turret with no resistance right now. Very nicely played by UCLA to keep Cal Poly SLO busy. Martel making his way over there, but it might be too late. Minion just now went down, and with the Iceborne Gauntlet, it does help out. Yeah, there's the turret going down. 5 turrets to 2 now. 2 inner turrets down for Cal Poly. It's just going to blow the map wide open for UCLA. It was already open in the first place. Hoplite. I would say Stunt is caught here, but I mean, it's actually Hoplite, even though it's 4v1. So how much power he has behind his Mundo, he can easily get out of any bad situation.
Exactly, and a lot of this power is also due to how great they have been able to aggressively control all of Cal Poly SLO's jungle. If you look at it right from the beginning, the second that Stunt went back and bought the Tracker's Knife. He was placing wards deep in the jungle. He was making things a lot easier for his team due to the vision control that they had. They were able to have the vision control. They had the rotations accordingly. Now that has put them ahead, not only a dragon, but 3 turrets, as well as about 5,000 gold. So if you look at everything that Cal Poly SLO have been doing, it's been countered pretty handily and pretty proactively by every member of UCLA.
Yeah, we have yet to see a really big team fight so far. And I think UCLA are totally fine with that. They can team fight really well. Cal Poly knows that, but... Oh, there's a turret going down. Turrets are almost even now that I speak about that, but... UCLA team fight, but they're at the point. You have to keep that game up. Split push and create pressure in the lane. Possibly try to take the Baron. Now, while I say that, I want to take a look at these itemizations here. So, Evan Dryad, he picked up a Runan about a month ago. That was a terrible choice. What is it now that makes it so powerful?
The critical strike, the critical chance, should I say. That's the biggest change with a lot of these attack speed items. The fact that it gives you the critical strike makes life a whole lot easier for you through and through across the board. When you look at how these changes apply and what makes them great, you have the critical chance on an item that actually Heaven's Riot on the Jinx benefited from initially, because yes, you get the AoE from the Runins, but now you get AoE crits coming out of the rocket launcher. So while you have a reduced attack speed, 15% reduced attack speed on the Jinx rockets, the second she gets a kill or assist, that gets negated, that 15% gets right back, and every subsequent one you get after that continues to stack it up. So while this Jinx is down about 40 farm as well as a couple kills, she's not completely out of the max. If Pismo, SLO, and Martel can get into the front of the fight and allow a little bit of distraction on the members of UCLA, that is when Heaven's Riot can really start cranking away a lot of damage and really get into the minds and into the damage of all the members of UCLA. But just as we say that, look at the pure burst build that you have coming out of Light Sledge. He went Essence Reaver straight into Infinity Edge. Yes, he has a little bit of extra crit from that, total of 40% crit from both of those, but it all comes down to his caster ability, of how much damage he's able to crank out with his abilities, and that's what he's going for. That's how he's trying to do it, and now they're on the Baron. This is something that Cal Poly SLO is going to have to contest if they want to stay in this game.
They cannot get through the big front of West and Daphne. The Baron's going down relatively slow. Super Mega Death Rocket goes out. They see it there. Equalizer coming out. Who's going to get it? It's actually Martel who gets the Baron. Backfiring on UCLA. Sorry about that. Shutdown goes over the Hacker Earthquake. Double kill done. In trouble as well. Goes down. Triple kill for Brand in the mid lane. Very nicely played by Cal Poly.
So, believe it or not, that clutch MVP is not going to go to Martel. It's going to go to Hoplite, because Hoplite threw down the silence on top of Stunt, so he actually wasn't able to smite that away. That allowed the burn tick from Martel's Equalizer to throw this up, and this is just the raw damage that we talked about. Happy Birthday was all by himself, but due to the zoning that Pismo as well as Martel were able to crank out, made things so much easier for the other members of the team. Yes, Heaven's Riot went down, but that focus allowed the other members to crank out. This is the difficulty when you have such a high damage composition that Cal Poly SLO has. UCLA has to make a decision the second they go into a fight. Who are we going to focus down? Who are we going to kill? Who are we going to try to knock out of the fight? Both times that they've had these big team fights, it's been Heaven's Riot. It's going to be up to them to decide to switch the focus. Martel doesn't have a very lucrative score, 1-0 and 5, but every single one of his equalizers have been game-changing and team fight altering. So that's what they have to look out for, changing their decisions on who they're going to prioritize. I want to see what kind of communications they're going to have moving forward and what decisions are going to change up as the next team fight occurs.
Yeah, this game is completely even now after that Baron fight. Very well played by Cal Poly. Once again, Martel has the Leandri's Torment now. Actually, I don't even know if he had. I think he might have had that last team fight too, but looks like he is going for the Rylai's Crystal Scepter to go with that Leandri's Torment, and also slow him down a little bit more with his Flame Spitter. This is really anybody's game here. What do you do if you're on the back foot? You're UCLA. You have the advantage for quite a long time, and now you're kind of on the back foot. What do you do from here?
You have a lot of wave clear, so you don't really have to worry about being too aggressive and being too crazy. If you look at their ward situation they have right now, it's a lot on jungle entry exit. They don't really have their own jungle warded up too heavily, but they do have a lot of aggressive jungle entry exit wards on the blue side jungle. So that's what they're looking forward to. If you look at a lot of the pressure that you see coming out of Cal Poly SLO, it's primarily due to the Banner of Command as well as the super minions. So now it's a lot of play the defense, even if you have to give up this tower, which it looks like they're actually going to do. That's okay. You're going to deal with that. It's not that big. 1.5k gold is not the end-all, be-all of this game. So they're just going to sit back. They're going to relax. All the members of Cal Poly SLO are going to go back and buy their own items and try to get a reset. And that's exactly what UCLA wants, and it's exactly what they need. They need to pick their team fights out accordingly. And as it showed in the last Baron fight, that didn't happen. So right now, it's a reset, reconvene, reprioritize, and then push forward.
That prioritization may be on vision control for 3 pink wards and 3 sweepers on the side of Cal Poly. So the dragon is going to be up in 7 seconds. They're going to try to establish as much control over it as possible. They have 1 dragon. I have not seen a dragon go past 3 in this new patch. As far as 3 on 1 team, might see it this time around. Dragon out. For it, it actually is taken by Light Sledge. It's low, he's going to get culled, but down pretty slow. Hoplite there. Going to help. And now Cal Poly is going to disengage.
That's exactly what they want right there. That forced a defensive ultimate coming out of Pismo. When he's not able to get in and actually isolate a member away, then that's going to be a win-win for UCLA through and through. They get the 3rd dragon. That's going to give them the movement speed buff. And believe it or not, if you look at all of the members on UCLA, they benefit very heavily from this movement speed buff. You've got extra bindings as well as extra charms coming out of Daphne and skill shots respectively. You've got an extra movement coming from Stunt and Light Sledge, and this is what they're going to need going forward. But just as we say that, a pause happens. Now, as we come into this pause, Martel did just get hit up by a binding, so that's something that we need to look out for the second that the game gets unpaused, is what are they going to do to respond to the binding that Martel was just hit by.
Yeah, and this is pretty sticky right now because there's really not that much to follow up onto Martel. It doesn't look like. Looks like most of the members of UCLA are kind of in the back lines. Looks like there's some batteries low on possibly a wireless mouse. Not really sure what they're. Yeah, okay, yeah, wireless mouse issue. So we'll get that cleared up in just a moment. Hopefully somebody at the con has batteries. I mean, it's a whole convention. I'm sure somebody has batteries. But yeah. I don't think too much is going to be followed up by the binding. Rest in the west, he's in the base. He has teleport. We'll see what happens with that one. But for now, can take a look at the items. What do you see going on right now?
The biggest discrepancy that I see right now is actually going to be in the in the AD carry position. They're fairly even, a lot more even now in the CS that they were, and while their scores are very changed, they've decided to go very different itemization. So you see the Essence Reaver, Infinity Edge, as well as the Static Shiv coming out of Light Sledge, and so he's going for a lot more raw damage and burst potential, which you would expect from a Lucian, but you're actually seeing a little bit of a change up on Heaven's Riot, and he's going for a Blade of the Ruined King. Now, you're not used to seeing that from someone such as Jinx, but what this does is this gives you extra attack speed, which means you can stay in rocket launcher form a little more. And with the health stacking that you see coming out of both Breast in the West as well as Stunt, it's going to make things a little bit easier for him. There's a lot of different styles that both of these teams are going, but what I want to see out of anything, regardless of what itemization they're going with, is going to be hands down the decision making that they're playing. They're at a point in the game right now where one mistake will cost you an inhibitor, and at 31 minutes in the game with the timers that you could have, you ace a team, that could be a straight up game over. And that's what we're going to have to look for. That's what we're going to have to see. This is game 1 of the West Regionals for this side of the bracket. And whichever team wins this game is going to put the other on the back foot. They're going to be in a very difficult situation because they lose the next one, they're out. So getting this first win, securing this first start is very pivotal for both teams. And so we've seen a lot of slow play. We've seen a lot of attempt at consistency from both sides, and whichever one is able to keep that up is what I see going to come away with the victory.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. This is a best of 3. and this might be the first game that we've seen go, that we might see go to a game number 3. So far, they've all been pretty one-sided. This game is so close. It's 31 minutes in, and only about 1,300 gold difference. One turret up on the side of Cal Poly, and 2 dragons up on the side of Los Angeles, UCLA. So it's really, really close right now. One has a huge advantage, and yeah, like you said, one false move in a team fight could be the end of it all. We saw that in the Baron. It wasn't the end, but it did put Cal Poly way, way into this game, way more than they were. We are getting back into the game. We're going to see what happens to Martel here. Paying attention. He's binded. A little bit of damage put onto him. This is going to be a team fight. Kill shot was actually there. Lands the charge. Gets the kill. Big pyroclasm. Comes out the back line. Stun. He's trying to get in the face of everyone. There's the teleport. One red for red. Light flush. Picking up the kill. Double kill for himself, actually. And Heaven's Right going down as well as Top Light. This actually might be the game, or at least a huge push for UCLA.
When we talk about the first misstep and then advantage upon advantage on every member, Light Sludge was able to get a beautiful double kill on there, help himself out a little bit. That's going to be one turret. That's going to be inhibitor turret. The timers are a little bit too low. I'm not too sure they're able to finish the game, but still being able to get that exact play off of Martel, beautiful, beautiful job. It was a little bit of a unfortunate situation as the binding right before the pause really kind of just puts a damper on everything you were trying to do. But this is tournament play. You got to do what you got to do to get the win, and that's going to be UCLA taking the win in that fight, securing 2 towers and an inhibitor. They're the one that's up. They're the ones in the driver's seat. They're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, and this is for the Western Regional, so get to that pool of $1,500. And of course play on the grand stage for the finals. So UCLA, they're trying to get every advantage they can, even through a pause. But the bind had landed before. Montel just caught a little bit off guard there. Now UCLA, they're in the driver's seat. They have the mid lane inhibitor down. Shut this advantage. And then kind of an Achilles heel for both teams. They get an advantage, and then somehow something happens. Throw it just a little bit, whether it be Baron or just being caught out by a Dark Binding.
A lot of it relies on the shoulders of Cal Poly SLO to really prioritize a lot of vision. Believe it or not, they have a decently solid pick composition, and they're very good at fighting in these choke points. Not only does the equalizer work wonders in small areas, as we've known time and time again, but Happy Birthday, believe it or not, with that pyroclasm bouncing from member to member, does a whole heck of a lot of the damage. If you want to get into specifics on it, it actually does over 400 damage to each member, but just for that, he gets caught out.
Oh, he gets caught out. Pyroclasm does a lot, and actually he got the Pillar of Flame on his life sludge beforehand. Stunned. He's going to try to zone off everyone that he can. There's a big equalizer coming out, but he's still healing through it. The rest of the West is absolutely forcing himself into the team fight, but Hoplite keeping everyone healthy. Now stunned. He doesn't have Zetas anymore. He is slowed with the trap and Twilight Scepter. He may end up going down here. He has so much tankiness. So resilient, and he actually gets out of all that.
Mundo does what he pleases. So much regeneration, and look at that, 21 every half second that he's able to just heal up, heal up, heal up. There wasn't enough damage, and this is kind of the struggle that we saw that Heaven's Right is in, going with this extra survivability with the Blade of the Ruin King. He's not able to crank out as much damage as he wanted, but this forced displacement that you see coming out of Cal Poly SLO, that's going to allow them to capitalize a little bit. They're going to go for the Baron. This could work if they prioritize it correctly, but Hoplite is already really low, and the ultimates are coming in right now for UCLA.
Yeah, Evan's right. He can take that down very quickly, but it's be hard whenever you don't have your healer on the backline healing you, and now it looks like UCLA, they're going to try to clear some wards. I don't think they would go back in for it. The teleport is up from Martel, and he has oh no, he does not have equalizer actually. They're still just going to back off of this one.
They're going to clear out the wards, and they actually have a solid advantage. Look at the mega wave that you see forming in the bot lane right now. That's going to force someone to go and respond to that, because if not, if you actually take a look at how many minions are, they just pinged it. There's over 4 waves of caster minions, so they can just rock and roll, wait for it to happen. Yes, the teleport is available from Martel, but if they're able to continually sweep out the wards and contain the vision control that they have, that means that Martel's going to have to take a lot more of a roundabout way at getting to his team. He's in the bot lane right now. They see him. Light Sludge is going to push up in the mid lane, as well as Skillshot Fired went back to get an item buy, but they're going to reconvene and try to do something. This could be their chance if they get the vision control correctly.
Caught out here. He's going to get cold. He's going to get knocked up with unstoppable sword. Wish coming out. Comes from Rockrush. Pyroclasm was essentially wasted there, only bouncing the rest of the West against the gun. So that's actually a really big ultimate down for Cal Poly SLO.
That's going to be huge. They're not going to be able to have that displacement to allow Pismo to go in and try to get some kind of fight. Look how fast this Baron is going down. There's really nothing they can do. They're trying so hard to respond. I'm not even sure if they want to fight this right now.
Pyroclasm down. They go for it there. No steal coming out from Martel this time around. Baron does go on to UCLA, but the rest of the West does fall. Damage back on Cal Poly. Skillshot Fired, he's getting in there, he's assassinating. Light Sludge from the backline, not being touched. Double kill for Skillshot Fired. He's going to get the triple kill here. 1Q would do it, but no, it's actually going to go over Light Sludge. That was a 4-for-1 in favor of UCLA. They have 2 minions in the mid lane. They made this contended right here.
So much miscommunication on the side of Cal Poly SLO. They knew what they wanted to do, but they weren't sure exactly how they needed to do it. You've got 25-second death timers. You've got a good set of minions. There's going to be a little bit of saving grace as the inhibitor is going to respawn, but that's not going to stop the effort. Martel's going to try to do what he can, but look at the damage coming out of Light Sludge right now. 8, 3, and 5. Dominating performance. They're going to push in. This might actually be the game.
Yeah, this is going to be the first Nexus turret going down. Teleport coming out right to the west. Why not? Unstoppable sword onto the rocket. Can't really do anything about it. Nexus goes down after the second Nexus turret falling. Congratulations. Game number 1 going over to UCLA.
Capitalization on the missteps. We mentioned it at pre-5 minutes in the game. That's exactly what UCLA or Cal Poly SLO had to do to maintain some kind of victory, and that's exactly what they did. It was an unfortunate capitalization on the binding that was hit onto Martel, but UCLA was very successful in taking that little bit of a lead and pushing it to a victory. They were able to finally get Light Sludge up and rolling as he finishes 9, 3, and 5, but Skillshot Fired, if you went to look back and see that last team fight, he was extremely patient with his Spirit Rush. He sat, he waited, he was able to get some good orbs of deception, pull some things across, but then the second the members were low, Spirit rushes in, is able to get a double kill. The triple kill ended up being secured for Light Sludge, and UCLA coming up 1-0. One more win will put them in the semifinals. This is do or die now for Cal Poly SLO.
Yeah, seesaw matchup in game number 1, but they have another chance in this next game. We are setting up lobby right now, so we'll be back in just a moment. My name is Joshua Fekes Quest here with Bill Jump Carter, and just stick around. We'll be back in a moment.